Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says his country will invest $1.50 billion in new military assistance for Ukraine to boost its army and provide urgently needed weapons. According to Associated Press, Carney arrived in Kiev earlier for meetings with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as Ukraine celebrated 34 years since its independence. During a joint news briefing, Zelensky said the two leaders were considering the presence of Canadian forces on the ground in Ukraine as part of a reassurance force. Norway also announced significant new military aid Sunday, pledging about $695 million for air defense systems. Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre said Norway and Germany are jointly funding 2 Patriot systems, including missiles, with Norway also helping procure air defense radar. Carney and Zelensky's meeting came as Russia accused Ukraine Sunday of launching drone attacks that sparked a fire at a nuclear power plant in its western Kursk region overnight. The fire at the nuclear facility was quickly extinguished with no injuries reported, according to the plant's press service on Telegram. While the attack damaged a transformer, radiation levels remained within normal ranges. Ukraine did not immediately comment on the alleged attack. Russia fired 72 drones and decoys, along with a cruise missile, into Ukraine overnight into Sunday, Ukraine's Air Force said. Of these, 48 drones were shot down or jammed.
Шановні пані та панове, їх високоповажності президент України Володимир. Заява президента України.
Ми розраховуємо на присутність канадських сил в Україні. Для нас це важливо. Ми обговорили сьогодні нашу оборонну співпрацю. Країни НАТО зараз підключаються до нової програми під назвою Pearl. Це колективний інструмент, який дозволяє збільшити допомогу Україні завдяки закупівлям зброї саме в Сполучених Штатах Америки. Вже в програмі рішення на $1,5 мільярди країни Європи зробили свої кроки. Я вдячний за готовність Канади приєднатися до програми. На сьогодні, якщо чесно, ми використовуємо нашу далекобійну зброю вітчизняного виробництва. І ми останнім часом, якщо чесно, не проговорюємо зі Сполученими Штатами Америки такі моменти. Колись це було, ви пам'ятаєте, було різні сигнали щодо наших ударів у відповідь після їх ударів по нашій енергетиці. Це було вже дуже давно. Сьогодні ми навіть про це не згадуємо. Тому для мене це новина.
Перший або перші переговорні кластери.
We're investing today $2 billion in new military assistance for Ukraine. $800 million of this will help strengthen Ukraine's arsenal for the most urgently needed defense equipment, drones, ammunition, armored vehicles. And we had a discussion today about specifying and targeting that assistance where it will have the greatest impact, and we will do so. As the President mentioned, we're proud to be the first non-European nation to participate in NATO's Pearl program, the package of the most urgently needed military assistance that will be delivered here next month.
Розмови і прохання до Дональда Трампа, чи з'явилося у нас і у вас, відповідно, більше важелів вплив?
Ми завжди підтримували дружбу між Україною і Угорщиною. А тепер існування дружби залежить від позиції Угорщини. Дякую.
What actually do you think the chances are of a ceasefire? And if there is one, I mean, you mentioned you don't exclude...
We are working through with our allies in the Coalition of the Willing and with Ukraine the modalities of those security guarantees on the land, in the air, and the sea, and I would not exclude the presence of troops. Yeah.
Ukrainian intelligence reports fuel shortages now reach Russia's Pacific territories, forcing Moscow to seek emergency supplies from Belarus. The reported restrictions from Crimea to the Pacific Islands demonstrate how Ukraine's systematic refinery strikes are creating supply disruptions far from front lines, potentially affecting both military logistics and civilian mobility. Russia has imposed strict 10-liter fuel rationing on civilians in the remote Kuril Islands, while urgently purchasing petroleum from Belarus to address spreading domestic shortages, Ukraine's Foreign Intelligence Service reported, according to Euromaidan Press media outlet. Since January, oil refineries have been the target of 42% of Ukrainian long-range strikes, making them the single most hit category. The data also breaks down the distances of strikes from Ukraine's border. Nearly 39.22% of hits landed between 500 and 1,000 kilometers inside Russia, while 37.25% were between 200 and 500 kilometers. Only 13.73% were within 200 kilometers of the border. More than 10% of the strikes reached beyond 1,000 kilometers, a range that underscores Ukraine's long-range capabilities. Russian media, including the Moscow Times, have separately confirmed gasoline prices reached record highs after refinery attacks. According to the Ukrainian intelligence report, Russian companies' interest in Belarusian petroleum products rose sharply in the second half of August, citing the Belarusian state company Belneftekhim. The assessment claims Belarusian refineries are rapidly increasing supplies to meet Russian demand. Russian companies are urgently buying fuel from Belarus, the Foreign Intelligence Service stated, though the scale and verification of these purchases could not be independently confirmed. According to the intelligence assessment, the fuel crisis has spread from occupied Crimea eastward through Russia's far eastern regions of Transbaikalia and Primorye, ultimately reaching the remote Kuril Islands near Japan. Russian media have documented specific price increases from the strikes. The Moscow Times reported that wholesale gasoline prices reached historic highs after Ukrainian strikes on major refineries, with AI-92 gasoline jumping 38% and AI-95 nearly 49% since the start of 2025. 3 major refineries knocked offline in August, and Ukrainian strikes target 13.5% of refining capacity. Russian fuel prices surge 40 to 50% since the start of the year, reaching historic records. Russia imposed gasoline export bans with extensions under consideration. Wholesale fuel prices trigger crisis, forcing domestic market interventions. Recent verified strikes include multiple hits on the Ryazan refinery, which produces aviation fuel for Russian military aircraft, and the Volgograd facility, which processes over 14 million tons annually.